In some parts of India, particularly in the impoverished states of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, a disturbing tradition still thrives: the abduction of young men to force them into marriage. Every year, hundreds of bachelors vanish, only to reappear weeks later as husbands to women they were forced to marry under extreme pressure. This practice, known as Pakadwa Shaadi or Jabariya Shaadi in Hindi, literally marriage by kidnapping, stems from a twisted workaround of the dowry system. In India, the bride's family traditionally pays a dowry to the groom's family. For poor families, this can be financially devastating, especially when marrying into higher castes or respected professions like doctors or engineers. In many cases, it's cheaper to pay local criminals to kidnap a desirable groom than to save for dowries that often exceed $6,000. Parents or relatives of the bride scout potential victims, usually well-educated men from wealthier families, and then hire gangs to carry out the abductions. In rural Bihar, up to 90% of marriages in some villages reportedly begin this way. Ads offering these services have even appeared in local newspapers. Once kidnapped, grooms are often held in harsh conditions, beaten, starved, or chained until they give in. Some are drugged. The wedding proceeds whether they consent or not. During the ceremony, male relatives of the bride stand nearby, sometimes armed or poking the groom to ensure compliance. Escape attempts are met with threats. In some tragic cases, victims are murdered to protect the family's honor. Despite a law passed in 1961 outlawing dowries, the system persists, especially in poorer regions. Many families can't afford to marry off their daughters traditionally. This leads to a cruel cycle. Women without dowries are shamed and abused, sometimes even killed by in-laws. Between 1998 and 1999 alone, over 12,500 deaths were attributed to dowry-related abuse. To prevent shame and legal complications, many forced marriages go unreported. Victims often keep quiet, too ashamed to admit they were kidnapped into marriage. Some even stay married, resigned to their fate. Others try to fight back. One young man founded a group called Grooms Against Violence, raising awareness of these crimes. But tragically, he was kidnapped outside a courthouse and forcibly married a week later. Authorities attempt to intervene, but when an entire community supports the practice, enforcement becomes almost impossible. One police chief admitted cases where kidnappers abduct the wrong man, but families proceed with the wedding anyway. They already paid the gang and can't afford a second attempt. India's gender imbalance worsens the problem. Many families prefer sons over daughters for economic reasons, leading to widespread sex-selective abortions. As a result, in many areas there are fewer marriageable women, increasing the pressure to secure husbands by any means necessary. One solution gaining popularity is marrying off boys at 15 or 16 before they become targets. Others flee to cities to avoid forced marriages. Still, the legacy of Pakadwa Shaadi continues. In pop culture, the issue has even been portrayed in Bollywood films. One features a pampered young man kidnapped and forced to marry under threat, a fictional story that sadly mirrors reality for many. Forced marriage under threat of violence, in the 21st century, remains a terrifying and unacceptable practice. And yet, for countless families in India's poorest regions, it's a grim and normalized solution to a deeply rooted problem. And don't forget to check out our other videos, like the story of a Soviet soldier who fathered 73 children with 5 Japanese women during wartime, or the tragic fate of Jean-Claude Van Damme, how one of the biggest action stars of the 80s lost everything in the blink of an eye.